Los latinos componemos el 25% de los habitantes del condado. Aún así, la mitad de los casos del COVID somos nosotros. Nuestra comunidad depende mucho de la población hispana. Desafortunadamente, no recibimos la protección necesaria, así que es importante que nos cuidemos uno al otro. De este modo, no perderemos a nuestros seres queridos y podremos disfrutar de nuestras reuniones familiares.
We are our ancestors' children, and we carry their intergenerational traumas attached to trusting the government and vaccinations. I can say I lived through a pandemic by choosing to get vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated because I had to be a good leader and example for my people. I also got vaccinated to protect my daughter, who has a compromised immune system. I urge you to get vaccinated to become a protector of our elders and Native community.
Clerk to conduct the roll call of the Minnesota County Board of Supervisors.
Supervisor McGorty?
Here.
Supervisor Mulherin?
Here.
Supervisor Haschak?
Here.
Supervisor Williams?
Here.
And Chair Jurdy.
Here. Okay, do pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have, do we have any public comments on items not on today's agenda?
We do. First in the line is Louise Simpson, followed by Michelle Hutchins and Ron Edwards.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the time today. My name is Louise Simpson. I'm the superintendent for Anderson Valley Unified. I've contacted each of you via email regarding a mountain lion strike that happened on my school farm Monday evening. 2 goats were killed and dragged to the fence, as well as a third injured. I am super frustrated with this process for support. I've reached out and spent 2 days on the phone. I was able to get a hazing permit, which allows me to make loud noises at a mountain lion. I want to stress this is an outdoor classroom. This is a place that students frequent when lambs are being born, when they're feeding animals over the holidays, when there isn't a lot of traffic, and this is a severe safety issue. The support that I've been given on this is build a bigger fence, a 12-foot fence, or build a bigger barn. Well, that's not feasible. My school district is going to be operating at almost a $400,000 deficit next year. And I need some real-time, real solutions to keep my students safe. I will not be the superintendent that has a student killed in an outdoor classroom. And this is a systemic state problem. Everybody is kind of pushing me to the next level. Well, you need to talk to this and you need to talk to that. And it's super frustrating. I will say we've had multiple attacks on the corridor. And if I was a large property owner, I would have already met the 3 strikes rule for the animal. But because they're individual parcels, it's not viewed in that manner. And I would ask some support from this board that you look at a reasonableness. I don't want to get involved at the politics. I just want to keep kids safe. And right now, I have kids traversing that stream. I can do all the education I want, but the mountain lions were sighted there this morning. There were 2 at 3 o'clock in the morning down in the stream, and the kids walk that stream. And we're going to have a problem, and I don't want there to be a problem. And this is solvable, but I need some help. Thank you for your time.
Chair.
Supervisor Williams?
Yeah, we all want the children to be safe. Could we refer this to the Hascheck-McGuarty ad hoc? I don't want to drop the ball, but I also have a problem with the Brown Act. And given that we already have a committee focused on this, might be most appropriate.
Sure. Supervisor Hascheck?
Thank you, Chair Jurdy. Yeah, certainly this is a tragedy for losing those animals and the fear of the children's safety. And I've talked to the Superintendent Simpson from Anderson Valley Unified, and I've also talked to Quentin Martin from Living with Lions, and he's talked to the superintendent too. And so I think that Supervisor McGuarty and I, certainly as part of our ad hoc and the work we're doing, we will continue looking for solutions for, this can be another issue that we can deal with. We are trying to come up with that program, and we have that RFP out. But there are some bigger issues that we'll need to deal with too. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
We do. Next in the line is Michelle Hutchins.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. This is Michelle Hutchins. I'm the County Superintendent of Schools, and I wanted to just report to the board that Dr. Andy Corin with Public Health and MCOE and Senator McGuire's office held a very successful town hall this last Monday with the focus of vaccination safety for children. I want to thank Dr. Ann Martin Coe and Dr. Thomas Boo for both participating in the town hall. We had over 300 people attend. The town hall lasted over an hour and a half with lots of questions from our community relating to vaccination safety and young people. And by the end of the hour and a half, we still had over 200 people in attendance. So I would call that quite a good success for our community. We was very kind of Senator McGuire to host the event because it did allow us to be able to translate into the Spanish language and also with American Sign Language. So it really gave full accessibility to the town hall meeting by going through Senator McGuire's office. So a big thank you to Senator McGuire for working with us and making that happen. So I just wanted to report that to the board. Thank you for your service and your time.
Next on the line is Ron Edwards, followed by Dr. Quinton Martins and Michelle Liu.
Good afternoon, board. I just wanted to take some time to really say thank you to the ad hoc Supervisors Haschak and McGurty for last night's meeting. It was extremely helpful. There was a lot of hope that came, and we were able to dig into things with more than just 3 minutes. And so I just wanted to say thank you and feel really encouraged about the process that's been set up. Thank you.
Next on the line is Dr. Quinton Martins.
Hi, it's Quinton Martins. Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity to comment. I was informed about this event by the superintendent from the school, and having had a look at the area, it doesn't surprise me that there were attacks in the area because of the corridor that goes through the Mill Creek, and in fact the confluence close by creates a thoroughfare for mountain lions to move through. So there are a couple of things to consider in this. One is that mountain lions are not considered a significant threat to people. The fact that livestock were taken is quite expected. We have been studying and collaring and tracking mountain lions in the area just to the south of you for 5 years now, and pretty much every single mountain lion tracked has at some stage killed livestock or pets. So it's not an unusual thing, it's not an anomaly, and it will happen again. If it isn't this mountain lion, it would be another mountain lion. So the recommendation would be to avoid the conflict by ensuring the livestock are kept safe in the enclosure. Removing the specific individual is not going to solve the underlying issues, and may even exacerbate the situation through drawing in other animals if a vacant territory becomes available. If it's an adult male, for example, by removing that animal, it's possible to artificially increase the population of mountain lions for some time and allow them to move into that area. So just because of the nature of the location being so closely situated next to these creeks and the confluence of Donnelly Creek and Mill Creek, the recommendation would be to focus specifically on keeping the livestock safe from predation as a long-term goal, and possibly getting the kids involved in this process and having them realize that this is a really good learning opportunity, and that would form the basis for coexistence with wildlife in the area. When the animals are locked up in there, they'll be unavailable to the mountain lions, and they would just catch.
Next on the line is Michelle Liu.
Thank you, Chair Jurdy and supervisors. I've been a semi-regular participant in these meetings, so I think some of you know who I am, but for those who don't, I'm Michelle Lute. I'm the National Carnivore Conservation Manager for Project Coyote. And I won't take up a bunch of time. Mostly my comments would have really just echoed what Dr. Martins just outlined. So I just want to emphasize that, he's a great local expert, a great resource. He's seen the situation on the ground. And I think his point is well taken that prevention is key here. And there's some things that could be done. And this is a lesson that we can all learn. And I just want to assure folks that, I'm super enthusiastic about working with Supervisors Hashchak and McGorty on putting together a non-lethal program. We've already had a couple meetings, and I'm doing a lot of research to kind of assess the needs of the county and where the opportunities lie to do them, put together the most effective, modern, science-based program that we can to help folks with coexisting with the awesome wildlife heritage that you live so close to. So, I just want to say that we're staying engaged. We hear the concerns, and they will definitely be addressed. And I'm happy to answer any questions folks might have, and we'll definitely be talking more among the subcommittee of supervisors and myself on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor McGorty.
So Michelle, what it looks like to me as a scientist making observations is that there's behavior change. Typically, we wouldn't see a predator in a residential area in the past. And what you're saying is essentially expect collateral damage unless you lock everything up.
Expect collateral damage unless what happens? I didn't quite hear that.
You lock everything up, all the animals, which means all of our pets and livestock or anything else that might be in areas that traditionally we wouldn't have expected predation.
Well, again, I haven't been on the ground in this particular situation, but Dr. Martins and other folks who've shared information with me are saying that, the surprise is it's not surprising given the proximity to Mill and Donnelly Creeks. We know these are corridors for all kinds of wildlife, including mountain lions. And so it's not my impression that this is a highly residential area. But again, I haven't seen this situation on the ground myself. But I will just echo that, creek corridors are important corridors for wildlife. Cats don't want to be out in the open, so they're taking advantage of the streamside cover. So I don't think that this suggests a behavior change. I have not heard any data that suggests that the mountain lions in this area are becoming habituated. So I would just really like to echo that the vulnerability of these goats is context specific, and it doesn't suggest in any way that mountain lions are changing their behavior or that there is any risk to humans. Mountain lions are naturally very fearful of humans. So I think, I hear the superintendent's concerns about limited resources and how much she can change the setup. But I just assure her that there are resources to help address the situation. And I like Dr. Martin's idea of, involving the kids in potentially a new project that would enhance the fencing, enhancing security in a number of different ways. And so we can definitely talk about how we can all contribute and pool our resources and our expertise to address the situation.
Michelle, this is practically downtown Boonville. So we're talking walking distance to the main commercial strip, really close. So I'm not aware of mountain lion attacks in such a densely populated area before in Mendocino County. I could be wrong, but in my 33 years, it's not something that we usually associate with the more semi-urban areas of Mendocino. So that I'm just wondering, what's the pressure that we'd be finding of an apex predator, working essentially a semi-urban area?
Well, all I can do is reiterate the point that, they're going to use these corridors to the extent possible. So if a creek corridor is adjacent to a highly dense area of humans, they're still sticking to those corridors. And again, Dr. Martins has great data on tracking mountain lions. We know that they stick to those corridors. It's very rare to find a mountain lion that wants to walk through a dense urban area because they know that they're not safe there. And just there's studies outlining that just the voice of a human, even in a wooded area, will push mountain lions off of their kills. So they are naturally very wary of people, and they will avoid them in all circumstances. The instances where we see, a mountain lion in a denser urban area is often a young disperser who's avoiding other males' territories, basically. So there are context-specific factors that can result in what are rare instances of lions in urban areas. But I think the issue here is just that there are lions using this corridor and there are goats really close to these creeks. And if we can create a little bit more spatial distance and a little bit more security for those goats, that will address and prevent any future conflicts from happening, or at least decrease the likelihood to a large extent.
Okay, I do see a hand raised by the clerk of the board, but before we do that, I just want, Dr. Liu, I know that you had said that you would be available, and it sounds like you have been available to the ad hoc committee. If you haven't already offered, might you be available for some sort of meeting, maybe with the ad hoc and the superintendent and some folks in Anderson Valley on this issue?
Absolutely, yeah. Would love to continue this conversation.
Great, thanks. So I want to go to the clerk of the board's office. I see a hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to suggest that it may be appropriate to either sort of set this for a future item or move on, just given how much time is being spent on an off-agenda item.
All right. Well, I think we probably wrapped it up at this point, unless there's further public comment. I don't know. Do we have any other public comments on non-agenda items?
That concluded public comment.
Okay, great. That takes us to the main item today, this afternoon, which is discussion and possible action to review and approve final redistricting maps, receive public input on communities of interest and supervisorial district boundaries. So for this, we're looking to County Council and the Executive Office staff to make the presentation.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, members of the board, and I believe our advisory redistricting commissioners are also going to join us. So I'm Sherry Johnson with the Executive Office, and today the board will review the final draft map 12, which is a revision to draft map 10 based on the consensus by the board identifying further revisions to the boundary between District 5 and District 1 in the areas west of 101 and north of Hopland. So staff and commissioners are here and available for questions, and also Lee Farr is available to share his screen for draft map 12. So I will turn it back over to you, Chair Drudy. Thank you.
Well, I think where we left off last was with map 12. Perhaps Lee Farr could pull map 12 up onto the map. That might be helpful with any discussion.
These Chairman Drudy, these are the last boundaries after was modified at your last meeting at draft 12. And again, I can zoom into any area you want, take a closer look at that if you desire to do so.
Okay, thank you, Lee. I think the board's familiar with the map. Maybe for those who might be tuning in for the first time on these meetings, if you could just maybe highlight some of the changes that were required by the latest census numbers, and also were as a result of public input, and how we got to map 12.
Okay, draft 12 is pretty similar to draft 10, which was the top choice of the two choices submitted by the Citizens Advisory Committee. And The primary concerns that we had a lot of public input on were trying to keep the Laytonville area in the 3rd district and the town of Mendocino in the 5th district and the Casper community in the 4th district. The issue was primarily of balancing the numbers to achieve a one person, one vote. What we do is we take the total population based on the state adjusted census data for the 2020 census, get an average for the 5 districts, and we try to come as close to that average as possible. We had 3 current district boundaries that met or were within the variation close enough to the average. That was District 1, 2, and 5. Unfortunately, there was a big discrepancy in the District 3 that you see right here, and had quite a bit more population, so it was way over the average. And District 4 here was way under. So when you look at the difference between the least populated district and the most populated district, that, you know, one person, one vote has been defined as being under 10% variation between the least populated and most populated districts. So in our current situation, we're about 14% of variation between these 2 districts, 4 and 3. So the crux of the problem is that we had to add area or population to the 4th district and reduce the area of the 3rd district to reduce population. And I did achieve that. With this, there were some issues. One of the big issues was that up in here, you'll have this boundary right here is Spy Rock Road. And both Bell Springs and Spy Rock were in the 3rd district. But with this proposal, most of that area is going to be shifted over to the 4th district. And when you get down south here in the Willits area and the Brook Trails area, we had to move that boundary again east down here as well, and came pretty close to the city of Willits, and at least right up against the western edge of Brook Trails. And these 20-acre subdivisions up in this area here. So one of the criteria we have is to avoid splitting communities of interest. One at all possible, you want to, if you're going to move them in or out, you want to move them as a unit. So in other words, if we didn't want to split Brook Trails, we didn't want to split these subdivisions, the thing to do would be to put them all in one or all in the other. And traditionally, their community of interest in this area would be focused around Willits. And so we had to, we came as close as possible. You know, the Citizen Advisory Committee worked really hard to not split these communities of interest and to try to keep them whole and in place. We picked up some more area into the 4th district by bringing this boundary down here a little bit further south. That's pretty much along the Big River. So some of these lands in here are timber lands and conservation lands. Not a lot of population, but we did pick up some. And over on this boundary here, it's a Russian Gulch. Pretty much maintain that from the previous boundary from our current districts. There was public comment going back and forth whether the southern Casper area should be in the 5th district or the 4th district. But we got overwhelming public comment to leave it in the 4th district. I don't think it was ever the intention to move it one way or the other, but we were responding to public comment early on. And then later in the process, more overwhelming public comment was pretty adamant to leave that boundary as it is. One of the other difficulties that we looked at was trying to get Hopland out of the 5th district. There was a lot of public comment about making the 5th district more compact and try to reduce that area. The obvious was the Hopland area being more inland. Its community of interest is more focused on, the Ukiah area and the inland agricultural communities. So we were able to move that. At first, we just had the Hopland area along Highway 101 and came out and picked up the town of Hopland and then proceeded down 101 to the south. At your last meeting, we moved this boundary out a little bit. We're able to do that without changing the variation between the least populated and most populated districts. We zoom into Ukiah. There was an attempt by the Citizen Advisory Committee to try to stretch this out and pick up some of the western hillsides. That's as far as we could do without getting too many people, making the population of the 2nd district too large. There was also a lot of concern about taking some of these areas that are basically urban and adjacent to the city, but outside of the city boundary, and get those into the 2nd district. Unfortunately, there's a highly densely populated areas. This area right in here, the Citizens Advisory Committee tried to put that in the 2nd district, but there's over 1,000 people in just this neighborhood right here. And we had the same situation down in the south of Ukiah, down by the airport. We did manage to pick up some of these neighborhoods here between State Street and the airport, and this area around Norgard Lane down to Plant Road. Again, these are more densely populated areas, but we're able to get that area into this to the 2nd district. Unfortunately, this area here is just as, their community of interest is the 2nd district as well, but there's just too many people there. We'd be taking too many people away from the 5th district, and then we'd have too many people in the 2nd district. So you can see down to the south here where you modified this boundary at your last meeting. You're coming through here on the edge of McNabb Ranch. There's a little bit of McNabb Ranch over on this side, the bulk of it being over here. And coming down here, picking up Hopland and Old Hopland, and then proceeding down south along Highway 101. And right now, these particular, I'm going to pull in a different map here to show you the statistics. So with this scenario, all of these districts are within 5%, or actually less than 5% of variation between the average population, which is what you want to see. I think we're about 7.62% variation between the least populated and the most populated districts. So that's good. We have a cushion between that and the 10% that we have to stay below, and that gives us a good population to work with here. It's balanced. We have not split any of the census designated places or incorporated cities, and I think that's where this map, this version is at this point.
Well, thank you, Leif. And one way of summarizing it, the 5th and the 3rd districts were the largest districts in the previous maps. They remained the largest districts by land mass, but are slightly reduced in size in the newest map 12, and districts 4 and 1 gain some land area and therefore some population. The 4th district has a lot of forest land in it where there's virtually no one living on the land, and so and needed to take in some areas that were populated to balance out. Okay, any board members with any additional comments? Supervisor Hashak.
Well, thank you, Chair Judy. Again, I'd like to thank the commission for their work on this and really listening to the people. With all the iterations of the maps, it shows that the people were listened to, and the board is accepting, I think, that the work that the commission did. So I really appreciate that. Just a little anecdote is yesterday I was in Laytonville talking to a freshman class at Laytonville High, and we were talking about county government and how it works, and the redistricting process. And in that class, I said, okay, who lives on Spy Rock? And there were two kids who lived on Spy Rock. One kid lived on the left side, one kid lived on the right side. So that was an example of what would happen with the redistricting. That one was going to be in Chair Judy's district and the other would be in my district. And it's unfortunate that that's happening, but it is the numbers game, and we need to do what the numbers dictate too. So, I'm sure that Chair Judy will give really good representation to the people on Bell Springs and Spy Rock in that area. So anyway, I just wanted to share that story. And I support this map.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Hashak. Supervisor McGordy.
So I first of all, I thank the committee under the commission rather under the leadership of Hal Farmer for a job, and tribute to them that doesn't seem to be a lot of negotiated and went on. I'm also pleased to have a district that I call the Russian River Village.
It sounds like Glenn's in a fish tank.
Yeah, Supervisor McGordy, your audio is not coming in very well.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Okay. So again, thanks to Hal Farmer and the Redistricting Commission, and glad that we have the Russian River villages all together, communities of interest, which are Hopland, Talmadge, Pella, Redwood Valley, Potter Valley. And finally, I'm glad that the 5th District still comes down into the Russian River watershed, because I think having 3 supervisors working on and aware of Russian River issues makes more of an impact to Mendocino County with that configuration. So that's all I have to say. Thanks to everybody, and finally to Lee Farr for all the great work that he did in bringing this together.
Thank you. Supervisor Williams.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank the redistricting committee for doing such a great job conducting the meetings well. Leaf for putting maps together quickly. I think even sometimes in the evenings and weekends, it's noted. And I'd like to move approval of the final redistricting map.
Second.
We need to go to public comment.
I was about to do that. So do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
We do. First in the line is Ron Edwards.
Yes, thank you for your time and coming up with this map 12 as an option for that Hopland area, and really keeping that agricultural interest in a good agricultural district. And just really appreciate all the effort put into this. And thank you very much.
That concludes public comment.
Okay. Can we have a roll call?
Yes. Supervisor Mulherin?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Supervisor McGordy? Supervisor McGordy?
Here's frozen.
Chair Judy?
Yes.
And Supervisor Hashak?
Yes.
Let's leave the vote open for just a second. I'm sure Supervisor McGordy is trying to get his connection through. He may need to reconnect to the meeting if his computer is frozen. Supervisor Hashak?
Well, I'd just like to say for the record that my son, who's in the Marines, and his wife are moving back in February when his term is up. And so we will be tied with the second district for population at that point.
Supervisor McGordy, we were just counting the votes.
Yes. Sorry for being frozen out.
Okay.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you everyone who worked on this, all the volunteer committee members, all the county staff, Sherry, Leaf, everyone involved, Katrina, clerk of the board staff. And with that, I think we're adjourned. Is that the last, anything else?
Yes, we are done.
Okay, all right, well, 1:37, we're adjourned for today. Thanks.
Thank you.